Hey everyone and welcome to Storytime. My name is Jake and today we are going to look at the subreddit r/entitledparents, where people tell us their stories of crazy mums and dads who think they're entitled just because they have kids. If you're new around here, please do hit subscribe down below so that you never miss out on another video. But for now, let's sit back, relax, and enjoy some Reddit stories. Entitled mother tries to sneak her son onto a roller coaster he's not tall enough for. Freaks when they refuse to let him ride. When my nephew, entitled son, was around 8, my sister and I took him to Disneyland. My sister, the entitled mother, knew he was not quite tall enough for all the rides. Her solution was to put lifts in his shoes so he would beat the height test. She tells me this as we're in line and about to come up where they will measure the kid. Wait, you're going to put your son on a ride that you know he's not tall enough for? What if he were to fall out, slide out? Those rules are put there for a reason. Oh, he won't? You're willing to take that chance? So he can ride on one or two of the big rides today? So what? I can't imagine putting him in danger just so he can get on a ride. Shh, just watch how it's done. We get to the height board and my nephew stands up against it. The park employee, PE, sighs. Oh man, I'm sorry, but you're just a little too short for this ride. No, he's not. Entitled son, stand up taller, don't slouch. She grabs him and forces him upright. We can see he's still about half an inch too short. My sister leans into him and whispers, "Remember what we talked about." I then watch in horror as the little boy casually lifts his heels so he's more on his toes. Of course, this moves him up to the necessary half an inch needed to be able to ride. My sister looks triumphantly at the park employee. See, he's perfect. No ma'am, he's on his tiptoes. I'm sorry, but he cannot ride this today. He's not tall enough. My sister flips out. Starts yelling that the height numbers are suggestions and that she's paid a lot of money to be here and it'll be fine. When he refuses to budge, she grabs the kid and stalks off, headed right for the information office at the front of the park. She then wasted another hour arguing with them about why the height limit isn't fair and how the park employee had ignored the fact entitled son was tall enough. I sat off to the side and listened, mortified by all of this. A manager came forward and measured him right there, ensuring he kept his feet flat and showed my sister he was not tall enough. I guess the paper towels in my shoes didn't work to make me taller, mummy. You put lifts in his shoes? You know how dangerous it is to put a child on a ride he's not big enough for? I've had enough of this. Forget it. You people have ruined my son's day. Do you know how much I paid to even get into this park? Blah 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 blah. It's been a few years and I am still embarrassed and disgusted by how she acted that day. What kind of parent endangers their child's life just so they can ride a roller coaster? My sister, apparently. I'm really confused, so first she said, "Do you know how much I paid?" as if she paid more than every single other person, and then she literally says to the manager, "Do you know how much I paid?" I'm pretty sure the manager knows, lady. Entitled mother calls me heartless because I won't let her child play with my hamster after she dropped him. So this just happened and I am mad. Cast entitled mother, entitled kid, and me. So my mother's friend was over and she brought her 10-year-old kid. My mother mentions I just got a hamster, so entitled kid wants to see him. I bring entitled kid to my room where the hamster is and explain to her that I only got him on Sunday, so he's still shy and not used to people yet. I tell her she can't pick him up, but give her a sunflower seed and tell her she can put that on her hand and see if he will come up onto it. I had put a lot of emphasis on how she shouldn't try to pick him up or touch him forcibly because she's not tamed yet and still not used to people. Entitled kid ignored this and started chasing him around the cage and trying to grab him. My hamster was visibly stressed. "Please don't do that, you're scaring him and he might bite you." But I can do this with my friend's hamster. I only got him a few days ago. He's not used to people yet, so he won't let you pick him up or grab him. He's scared of you. Entitled kid then goes in a huff, and I decide to do the teacup method of picking him up, because this child will not be happy unless she sees him do something. My hamster readily goes into the teacup, and I lift it. This gets him used to being picked up. Don't reach in and don't try to touch him. He's still getting used to it. Entitled kid immediately tries to grab him out of the cup and drops him. Luckily, he fell into his cage, and I hadn't lifted him too high, so he was fine and not hurt. However, he was very scared and went to hide. Entitled kid proceeds to knock over his hideout just to see him. I fix it and close up his cage. Right, that's enough. You've scared him too much, and you dropped him. You should have listened to me. But I can do all this with my friend's hamster. You're just not letting me have fun. I explained that he hadn't been tamed yet, and you were scaring him. I specifically told you not to try and pick him up, and you did. If you dropped him on the floor, he could have died. Entitled kid runs off to her mother. I then started fixing the mess Entitled kid made when Entitled mother comes in to speak to me. You were very rude to my child. I'm sorry, but I'd explained to her how she should behave around the hamster, and she ignored everything. She even dropped him. She was lucky he fell into the cage, because he would have died if he fell on the floor. She's just a child. She didn't understand. She's 10. She's old enough to understand basic instructions on how to treat a hamster. Well, she's learned her lesson. Let her play with him a bit more. No. He's stressed enough as it is, and he's sleeping anyway. She'll be better around him. Please just let her play with him. No, he needs time to de-stress and sleep. You're so heartless. I'm telling your mother about this. Go ahead. I'm sure she'll agree the well-being of my pet comes before the whims of your kid. In the end, my mother agreed with me, and Entitled mother ended up storming out in a bad temper. I'm still very mad about it. I'm not going to endanger my pet because your child can't behave or follow basic instructions. She just sounds like the type of person to be like, oh, can my kid pet your dog? And then when the person yanks its ear, gets bit, she's like, oh, that dog needs putting down. Just disgusting people. Entitled dad tried to force me to open a roller coaster for his son to ride on. I used to work at Busch Gardens at Tampa Bay. It's a theme park with quality roller coasters, animals, etc. I've ran into a few confusing times with guests, but it was usually cleared with explanation. However, this one darn day, I was out front of a ride called Cheetah Hunt. Basically, I sat in front of the entrances, answered questions, closed up the entrance of the ride if it was closing, etc. There wasn't just rain, but lightning around 0.6 miles away. We had to close up the roller coasters. So, as I closed up Cheetah Hunt, which is usually packed, at least when I worked there, this entitled dad was short and plump. He came up to me with his supposed son, who was around 7 to 9 years old, but they didn't look alike. The kid was short and fat as well, but he was Mexican, and the dad seemed Italian. I don't want to assume ethnicities. Point is, they didn't look related. I ignored it for the time being, but the conversation went as followed. Hi sir, is the ride closing? Yes, we have to due to the weather. Oh, can my son just ride on this ride real quick? This alone was extremely stupid. It's not like I can magically press a button to get the whole team of people to start up the ride for one person, let alone during a storm. I was a bit dumbfounded by his comment, so I just went along accordingly. I'll admit, I did giggle a tiny bit before I answered. Ha, sorry sir, I don't even have the ability to start up the ride. The weather can be a hazard as well. He then got really cocky. Well, actually, we've been waiting for a while, and he would really like to ride on this ride. At this point, this conversation was just getting utterly useless. I still acted polite, but the fact that this parent was so entitled that he felt that his son could just ride the ride because he wanted him to was just so annoying. I know, sir, but we still have to close it as a safety precaution. You know what? I don't care if it's closed. Let my son ride the ride. He's adopted. The conversation just took a weird turn. It sort of got me angry too, because he was just using that as an excuse. Sir, I understand that your son wants to ride, but he will be able to if we open it back up, if weather conditions improve. I mean, we're in Florida, so it can easily change. I don't care about the darn weather. Let my son ride on cheetah hunt now. I started to get irritated, and I'm pretty sure it showed with my voice at this point. Well, I'm sorry, sir. I cannot let your son ride this ride at this moment. You can gladly come back later and ride when the weather clears. You know what? You can go to hell. My son really wanted to ride this today, and you ruined it for us all. Screw you, go to hell. Holy hell, I hope the ride works perfectly when you head down there one day as well. He sort of turned around, literally looking to hurt me. Then he turned around and walked off. In all honesty, I really didn't care. He stormed off with his son. The kid looked like he had no idea what just happened and was literally being dragged by his dad. This memory is engraved in my head because it was the most ridiculous thing that had happened to me in my entire life. That dad was so entitled that he thought he could force me to order a group of staff members, who were technically the same rank as me, to start up the ride for his son alone during extreme weather conditions. It just happened so fast as well. It went from him being polite and asking a question to flipping me off in a 5-second turn. And we're actually going to end off with the 7 Deadly Sins of Entitlement by u/reallyshortone. I can't help but notice that the entitlement showcased on this particular Reddit fulfills all 7 of the 7 deadly sins. Here's an informal breakdown of an encounter. Number 1. Lust. Not always sex, but a blind hunger for other people's property, position, power, prestige that they themselves don't have because they don't put any effort into their lives. If they did, they'd have what they want, or at least they'd be too busy to notice that they don't have those things. Later addition for clarification: lust as in lust for power, lust for wealth, lust after fame, etc. In my honest opinion, it's not always sex. Number 2. Gluttony. Sees the food, nice things, restaurant chair, accomplishments of others, and attempts to gobble them up in order to feel better about themselves. Bunks with lust. Number 3. Greed. Coveting other people's property, position, power, and prestige that they don't have because they don't put any effort into their lives beyond instant gratification. Greed's inbred first cousin. Number 4. Sloth. A fancy word for laziness, the twin sister of greed, wanting to the point of violence other people's property, position, power, and prestige they themselves don't have, because they don't put any effort into their lives. Number 5. Wrath. Rage. Rage at a world that doesn't acknowledge how great, special, perfect, exalted they and their children are, by treating them like everybody else. Anything that reminds them that they or their children aren't great, special, perfect, exalted provokes wrath. Seeing someone else succeed or have nicer things provokes wrath. Number 6. Envy. Greed's obnoxious, whiny little sister who pees on anything and everything that she doesn't get so others can't enjoy. See, thrown phones, computers, or cakes. How dare somebody else have nicer things than they? So what if the other person worked harder, saved up, was a better shopper, didn't waste their money on stupid things, or won a prize than they? See, want, scream. It's not fair. Until you get what you want or arrested. And number 7. Pride. Generally baseless. Pride publicly 3 ways with wrath and envy, while gluttony, lust, and wrath watch and applaud. Sloth can't be bothered. Knowing it's worthless, false pride projects itself in the form of arrogance, and I deserve this because I'm great and you're inferior. When injured, pride attacks those who defend themselves to the point of public humiliation, if not incarceration. But it's never their fault. It never is. It's everybody else's fault for not recognizing how wonderful they or their bugger-eating children are. And all to the tune of, "It's not fair." I have to say that did break down the subreddit pretty well. Hey everyone, I hope you all had a really good day and that you enjoyed that video. If you want to check out some other videos, then click on screen right now, or check out the playlist down below. If you enjoyed that video, then please do leave a like, and if you want to submit your own stories, then you can do so by joining the Discord in the top link in the description. But thank you so much for watching, and I will see you very soon.